Monster Manual Collection 2 is out now, and today I'm going to show you every mini in the set, every variation, and we'll talk about how the stat blocks change from the original Monster Manual to the 5.5 edition here. I'll also give you suggestions on how you might use each of them in your campaign, so if you pull a few random minis from a booster box, hopefully you can use this video as a resource on how to get the most out of them. And at the end of the video, I'll reveal the winner of our booster box giveaway from my brick unboxing video, so stay tuned to see if you won. And finally, our sponsor Hit Point Press just started their Witchy summer sale with discounts on things like the Fable Maker's animated tarot box set, which gives you a really fun and beautiful way to add some random but thematic life to your 5e campaigns. You can see the cards here, the animated deck of many things if you really want to add some chaos. I haven't used the deck of many things in my campaign yet, but if you have, I really want to hear your stories down below. And they have a collection of animated spell cards on sale as well. All of these make for some really great gifts too. And I made videos about all of them, which you can see linked in the corner or down below. But for now, with thanks to WizKids for sending it my way, let's sit back and enjoy as I tell you all about the minis from Monster Manual Collection 2. Enhance and improve your 5e games today with Hit Point Press. Explore the whimsical dark carnival setting of Heckna. Will you see through the glitzy charade or fall prey to Heckna's everlasting torment? Or enhance your 5e games with animated spell, condition, and townsfolk cards. Add a slew of creative and gorgeously illustrated magical items with the Griffon Saddlebag. And meet 25 fully realized villains or become the big bad yourself. Big Bad's Most Wanted is on Kickstarter. Learn more today at Hit Point Press by using our link in the corner or down below. Your players are trained to see suits of armor on display as potential violence, just like they avoid gargoyles, rugs, mounted swords, and scarecrows. The armor token box that we reviewed recently, check the eye in the corner of the screen, is a great way to set this up. The updated animated armor feels a little tougher and more mobile than before, with a more reliable slam. The faceplate being up, showing no one inside, is a great touch here. The Orc Bandit is a good example of how the new Monster Manual handles a lot of NPC-style stat blocks. The Bandit isn't locked to being human anymore. It's just a small or medium humanoid, so making it an orc is mostly a matter of description, personality, gear, and culture. This could be a road raider, a desperate mercenary, a dockside smuggler, or one member of a larger warband. The stat block itself is simple, scimitar, and light crossbow. Make sure you play this one as intended. This is the enemy who studies the party, picks the soft target, strikes from hiding, and vanishes before anyone notices that the wizard has a hole in his chest. It gets 3 attacks, both melee and ranged options carry nasty poison damage, and the short sword can briefly poison the target as well. Cunning action lets it dash, disengage, or hide as a bonus action, while evasion helps it stay alive after the party's panicked counterattack. The Goblin Hexer is a support caster for goblin encounters, built to interfere with the party while tougher goblins do the stabbing and fire setting. Its multi-attack lets it make 2 Hex Strike attacks, and it can replace 1 attack with spell casting, so it can mix damage and control in the same turn. Hex Stick works in melee or at range, and deals psychic damage, giving the Hexer a reliable magical attack as well. Its spell list is focused on disruption. You have Blindness Deafness, which will debuff enemies, Fairy Fire will help the allies land hits, Grease makes a movement hazard, and Minor Illusion supports ambushes and trickery. Its Jinx reaction can also make 1 incoming attack miss. The Orc Berserker is another case where the new Monster Manual gives us a race-agnostic NPC stat block that lets the miniature and the story do the rest. This is a screaming frontline brute, a battle-crazed raider, or the champion of a warband who thinks metal armor and tactics are for cowards. The stat block is pretty direct. Bloodied Frenzied gives him advantage on attacks and saves when bloodied, and then the Great Axe attack, which can hit hard with a D12 damage die. Blink Dogs are one of those monsters that make the world just feel a little bit more magical. They're intelligent, good-hearted Feyhounds that can teleport around, which makes them perfect as rescuers, scouts, or that strange dog that keeps appearing just before something terrible happens. He's not so robust, so I would keep him out of combat when possible. No one wants to see the dog get hurt. Shrieker Fungus is a living alarm system. The new stat block makes that role very clear. If a creature or bright light gets too close, it starts shrieking loud enough to alert half the dungeon. Pair it with hungry monsters, cult guards, underdark predators, or a villain who farms these things like a biological security system. Magmin are tiny, chaotic fire elementals, walking matches with impulse control issues. They're great when you want a low-level elemental threat that makes the environment feel dangerous. Burning mines, volcanic temples, a wizard's furnace room, or a village where someone made the mistake of summoning just a little fire spirit. It can set things on fire and it explodes on death. Have fun with that. Manes are the bottom of the demon barrel, miserable, malformed little fiends made from souls that have been dragged down into the abyss. The name has older roots too. In Roman religion, the Manes were spirits of the dead or ancestral shades. Mechanically, they are not so complicated. They claw, they shamble, and they die. But they're great for setting the scene, a pit full of failed cultists, a demon's disposable servants, or just a reminder of what the abyss is really about. The Rust Monster needs to be used in the first 3 sessions of a campaign with new players. It is the moment when players learn that there are combat consequences besides damage and death, though its ability to have an impact is limited to that period when the party doesn't have 2 gold pieces to rub together. Older versions could be extremely mean because they could permanently wreck metal gear. The modern version gives players more room to recover. Its antennae can corrode worn or carried metal, giving armor a stacking penalty to the AC it provides, or giving weapons a penalty to attack rolls. If the penalty gets bad enough, the item is destroyed, but mending can remove the penalty. The Gnome Priest of Pelor is a weirdly specific little mini, which is my favorite kind of mini. Pelor is the classic Greyhawk god of the sun, light, strength, and healing, so this is your friendly village cleric with a warm smile, and if necessary, divine fire. The priest stat block gives you exactly that, healing support, radiant flavored offense, and just enough holy magic. Gnome priests show up in quite a few adventures. You've got Elister Noggins in Storm King's Thunder, Urky Timbers from Tales from the Yawning Portal, and Dim Cookie Knackle from the Sunless Citadel, although she's a female. Stirges are giant mosquitoes and are fantastic monsters that should be used more often. The swarm can latch onto a bloody target and keep draining life until someone spends the effort to rip them off. Stirges always make me think of Pathfinder's wonderfully creepy and campy Feast of Ravenmoor, where villagers keep domesticated Stirges as pets. And if you want to hear arguably the best live play mini-campaign, listen to the Glass Cannon podcast play it in their show Side Quest Side Sesh. You're gonna laugh your ass off, I promise. You know my love of kobolds. The Winged Kobold is a mobile skirmisher that works best when it's using terrain and allies rather than fighting fair on the ground. Its fly speed lets it perch up on ledges, attack from above, retreat through the vertical spaces, or harass characters while other kobolds block the way. Pack tactics is still a big part of the design, giving it advantage when an ally is near the target, so it becomes much more dangerous in groups. The updated version also gets Chromatic Spittle, a ranged elemental attack that gives it a clearer draconic connection and a useful option for when it wants to stay out of melee range. The Bugbear Stalker is built around ambush tactics and battlefield control, not just raw damage. It has stealth and dark vision, so it works well as a cave hunter, a forest raider, or a dungeon enforcer waiting in the dark for a good opening. The key mechanical detail here is that it can grapple as a bonus action after hitting with its Morningstar, and then its Abduct trait lets it drag a grappled creature without spending extra movement. That means that this bugbear can hit someone, grab them, and pull them out of position, which is much more interesting than just standing there and trading attacks. The Banshee works best as a portent of doom or a haunting, and not just some random encounter. Its Detect Life trait lets it sense living creatures from a great distance, so it can stalk intruders through a ruin or appear ahead of them. Incorporeal movement means it can drift through stone walls or floors or locked doors. In combat, Corrupting Touch gives it a direct attack, but the signature moment is still its Wail, which can suddenly turn a fight from manageable into terrifying as folks with under 25 hit points suddenly drop to 0. Use one around cursed noble houses, elven ruins, or places where grief has curled into rage, and have it show up after a big fight to terrify an already bloodied party. The Ice Mephit is a useful low-level elemental for frozen caves, white dragon lairs, mountain ruins, or any scene where the environment should feel hostile before the real threat shows up. Its combat role is mostly harassment. It can fly, use stealth, and cast Fog Cloud once per day, which lets it obscure the battlefield or cover a retreat. Its Frost Breath gives it a small area attack, so several Mephits can punish characters who group together in narrow tunnels. Keep in mind that it also has a Death Burst. When it drops, it explodes in cold, meaning that even killing it can chip away at nearby characters. The Manes Vaporspawn is a new variant introduced with the 2024 Monster Manual, taking the basic idea of a Manes and turning it into more of a low-level horror monster. Instead of just clawing at people, it has Contortionist, letting it squeeze through spaces as narrow as 1 inch, which is both disgusting and useful for vents and cracks and crypt walls and locked rooms. Its sickening vapors are the main feature. Nearby creatures can be briefly incapacitated, creating openings for other demons or hazards. It can also hide in dim light or darkness as a bonus action, so this works well as an abyssal ambush creature rather than just cannon fodder. The Spined Devil is a good infernal harassment monster, small, mobile, and annoying. Its flyby trait lets it swoop in and out of reach without provoking opportunity attacks, so it should be circling the fight rather than landing politely in front of the barbarian. It can mix melee attacks with ranged tail spines, making it useful in vertical spaces or burning ruins or infernal fortresses with lots of ledges and chains. Story-wise, these work as spies, as messengers, as scouts, or petty enforcers for more powerful devils. The Dust Mephit is a good choice when you want an elemental nuisance that feels tied to neglect and decay and forgotten places rather than fire or ice. It fits naturally in ancient tombs, abandoned temples, collapsed mines, or rooms where the air itself feels stale and hostile. Mechanically, it's built around blinding and repositioning. Its blinding breath can briefly blind a target, and its death burst creates another burst of damaging dust when it dies. It also gets the sleep spell once per day, which gives it a surprisingly useful control option and some Sandman vibes. The Basilisk is a great monster for turning an ordinary cave or ruin into a tactical problem. Its petrifying gaze is the centerpiece here again, and it's changed in the new version of the Monster Manual. Previously, it was a passive trait that relied on line of sight, and the victim could choose to avert their gaze to avoid the effect. Now it's an active ability, a recharging bonus action that doesn't rely on sight at all. If you're in its 30-foot cone and you fail the save, you're affected. Fail twice and you're petrified. I feel like it's lost some of its flavor here, but it's not hard to add that sight-based factor back in if you do want to. A Gnoll Fang of Yeenoghu is a Gnoll after demonic influence has fully taken over. It's not just a raider anymore. It is a living extension of Yeenoghu's hunger, meant to spread slaughter. The stat block gives it a bite, a bone flail, and a rampage bonus action that triggers after it damages a bloodied creature, letting it move and bite again. That makes it feel more like a predator that gets more dangerous once the party starts getting hurt. It works especially well leading ordinary gnolls, desecrating a battlefield, or serving as a sign that a demon cult has gone feral. The Kuo-toa Monitor is a tougher, more disciplined version of the standard Kuo-toa, which makes it useful as a temple guard, a patrol leader, or a bodyguard for a Kuo-toa priest. It has multi-attack with 2 10-foot whip attacks, which stop the target from making attacks of opportunity, giving it reach and steady control in a fight. You know the Kuo-toa lore, they can collectively believe strange gods into existence. So run a story about a Kuo-toa cult and an underwater shrine with weirdly invented deities, where the community's faith is reshaping reality. In the current lore, Nothics are often former spellcasters whose obsessive search for forbidden knowledge twisted them into lurking, one-eyed scavengers. That makes them useful in ruined wizard towers, cursed libraries, abandoned academies, or as the thing hiding in the villain's laboratory. The stat block supports that creepy information gathering role. It has true sight, strong stealth, and weird insight, which lets it pry a secret from a creature after it's watched them for a moment. In combat, it uses rotting gaze at ranged and claw attacks up close, but the real fun is what it knows before the fight starts, and how it can bargain with that information. The Scarecrow, with its amazing mini here, is of course great for haunted farms and cursed crossroads and witch huts, or any rural horror scene. It looks like a simple construct, but it is animated by the spirit of vengeance rather than ordinary magic. In combat, its fearsome claw can frighten a target, allowing it to break up the party while dealing damage. With terrifying glare, a nearby creature can become frightened and paralyzed, which creates a real Frozen in Fear horror movie moment. The new version also includes a D8 roll table with Scarecrow frame ideas, making it easy to vary the visual form from a pumpkin-headed slasher like you see here, but when you have this mini, I think you have to rock the Halloween look. The Air Elemental is a great choice for a fight where falling off the ledge is the primary threat. The Air Elemental can fly, resist a lot of common damage types, and move through narrow spaces, so walls and bars and cramped passages don't contain it very well. The updated stat block gives it 2 Thunderous Slam attacks and a Whirlwind recharge ability, which lets it deal damage and potentially knock a foe back 20 feet, leaving them prone. Use it in storm temples, cliffside road encounters, or on rope bridges connecting 2 spires. The Onkeg is our Tremors monster. Build that tension before the initiative even gets rolled. It burrows through the soil, erupts beneath the travelers, and drags prey into tunnels. So it works well for farms and roads and badlands, or any settlement dealing with mysterious sinkholes and missing livestock. Encountering one in a tunnel is especially dangerous, as this acid spray attack can hit anyone along a 30-foot line. The Barlgura is a demon built for ambushes and sudden violence, rather than elegant and sinister speeches. It has strong mobility, including climbing and leaping, so it works well in jungles, ruined temples, abyssal battlefields, or vertical spaces where it can drop onto the party from above. Its updated stat block gives it a mix of brute force and demonic tricks. It can use Entangle to restrain enemies, disguise itself or turn invisible, and then tear into targets with multiple attacks. It can even cast Phantasmal Killer at 6th level. The Carrion Crawler is a classic dungeon scavenger, useful anywhere bodies need to disappear before anyone cares to ask too many questions. It works especially well in sewers, crypts, caves, battlefield trenches, or beneath a large monster's lair where it feeds on whatever the real predator leaves behind. It attacks with tentacles that can paralyze a target, then follows up with a bite once the victim can't defend itself. It also has spider climb, so it shouldn't just crawl down the hallway like a weird bus. Put it on ceilings, walls, pits, and vertical shafts. A good Carrion Crawler encounter is partly about the monster and partly about realizing too late that they should have been looking up. The Iron Golem is a relentless and robust foe that all but neutralizes many usual forms of attack. It works best as the final guardian of a wizard's vault, an ancient war machine reactivated in a ruined city, or the silent protector of a tomb that follows its last command forever. It has high durability, strong melee attacks, and a poison breath recharge that can punish characters who cluster in front of it. The most important tactical detail is fire absorption. Fire damage does not hurt it, it heals it. That changes how the party has to fight, especially if anyone's first instinct is, I cast Fireball! It also is immune to many common conditions. I'm pretty sure I have a Shambling Mound in my backyard. I have this vine monster taking over everything back there. Now, normally Shambling Mounds work best in flooded ruins, cursed wetlands, overgrown temples, or anywhere bodies and vegetation have had too much time to mingle, and sometimes suburban backyards. It can slam creatures with vine-like limbs and then envelop a target, restraining, blinding, and shocking them inside its mass. Now the deal here is lightning absorption. Lightning damage heals it, which is especially fun if the party tries the perhaps inviting zap the wet plant monster solution and accidentally feeds it. Shambling Mounds show up in several D&D adventures, including Death House from the Curse of Strahd, which I've talked about before, where one can be reflavored into something more nasty and more tragic than just a pile of swamp weeds. The werebear is one of the more interesting lycanthropes because they're generally good aligned. In D&D lore, werebears are often solitary protectors who try to control their curse and avoid spreading it, which makes them useful as mysterious guardians, wilderness mentors, or dangerous allies who are terrified of what happens if they lose control. It can fight with claws, bite, or weapon attacks, and it has shapeshift to move between humanoid, bear, and hybrid forms. It can infect others with werebear lycanthropy with its bite. Icewind Dale, Rhymer the Frost Maiden, includes Oya Minartok, a memorable Goliath werebear who would be perfect for the B variant mini here. The Bulette Pup is a smaller, younger version of the classic land shark, which makes it useful when you want to portend the threat of a full-grown bulette. They travel in small groups, burrow underground, and can erupt from below to surprise their prey, so they work well in grasslands, hills, mountain passes, or frontier farms with mysterious tremors. This would have been a good common mini, as a small pack of Bulette Pups is a pretty fun idea for an encounter. The Gibbering Mouther is a crawly mass of eyes, mouths, teeth, and half-formed voices, perfect for cursed ruins, far realms contamination, failed magical experiments, or the aftermath of something that dissolved a bunch of people into one horrible aberration of goo. The stat block is built around confusion and area control. Its gibbering can make nearby creatures lose their actions, wander aimlessly, or attack allies, while its aberrant ground trait turns the area around it into difficult terrain. Its bite can knock a creature prone, and blinding spittle gives it a ranged way to disrupt the party before it oozes closer. Interestingly, it also has a swim speed. The next time your party rows across a mist-shrouded lake, let them hear distant voices bubbling up from beneath the water right before a pack of mouthers rises up from the depths and swamp the boat. The Hobgoblin Warlord is a battlefield commander, the person organizing raids, holding a fortress, or turning scattered goblinoids into a real military threat. In battle, their high AC, shield, and parry reaction make them frustratingly hard to drop, while their aura of authority turns nearby allies into a much bigger threat by giving them advantage on attacks and saves. Their javelins are especially nasty since they can also slow targets, and that will help control the battlefield. Put them behind a line of soldiers, barking orders, punishing mistakes, and making the whole encounter feel more organized and dangerous. A Lich is a campaign-ending villain. Ancient, petty, brilliant, and almost impossible to permanently kill unless the party finds its spirit jar. In battle, this version is more of a true boss monster than the original. It has a much higher AC and hit points, stronger legendary resistance, and a cleaner action routine with multi-attack, Eldritch Burst, paralyzing touch, teleportation, fear, and disrupt life. It should constantly reposition, punishing clustered heroes, and use protective magic to survive key spells. Compared with the original 2014 Lich, the new stat block trades that long prepared spell list for streamlined combat options, upgrades survivability enormously, and makes the Lich feel just much less fragile. The Medusa remains a tragic villain, perfect for ruined temples, noble courts, thieves' guilds, or monster-led criminal gangs where petrified victims become decor and warnings. In battle, the new Medusa is more active and is probably easier to run as well. The old version's Petrifying Gaze was a passive, start-of-the-turn hazard with eye-averting rules, while the new version makes it a recharge 5 to 6 bonus action and a 30-foot cone. Like the Basilisk earlier, there's no mention of averting your gaze. Its attacks are now more supernatural to boot. They don't have weapons anymore, but they can fire off a long-range poison ray. The Sahuagin Priest is the cruel voice behind a coastal raid, a sunken temple, or a sacrifice to Sekala. In battle, it's less of a bruiser and more of a support caster. Bless or Healing Word keeps its raiders dangerous, while Whole Person can leave a victim helpless for the sharks. Its spectral jaws are especially nasty because they work at range, letting the priest stay behind the tougher Sahuagin while still dealing reliable force damage. Shark Telepathy makes it perfect for ambushes, shipwreck encounters, or flooded caverns where the real threat is not just the priest, but the circling predators obeying its will. The Vampire Nightbringer is a new, more aggressive, combat-focused vampire than the classic aristocrat in a castle version. This is the vampire you see when you want a nighttime urban predator, or an assassin in the service of an older vampire, or a cursed champion stalking the streets after sunset. It hovers, hides as a bonus action in dim light or darkness, and combines a bite that lowers maximum HP with a cold damage Shadow Strike. Its lack of charm, shape-changing, and misty escape make it simpler and more direct, but it's still slippery if the battlefield has shadows. Use one to stalk the party through alleys, extinguish lanterns, and soften heroes up before the true vampire master enters the scene. The 2024 White Dragon Wyrmling is still a nasty low-level Arctic predator, but it now feels more dangerous in melee. Its biggest upgrades are Ice Walk and Multi-Attack. Instead of one bite averaging 9 damage, it now makes 2 rend attacks for about 16 total if both hit. Its breath weapon is basically unchanged, same DC 12, 15-foot cone, and 5d8 cold damage, so it remains a pretty scary opener. The Ice Walk ability makes me want to run the campaign on a frozen lake where the party risks slipping and falling prone every time they move or take damage. In a campaign, use one as a feral survivor, guarding a frozen kill larder, stalking a snowbound road, or foreshadowing an older dragon nearby. In battle, it should blast, fly, or burrow away, and then pick off weakened prey. The Aboleth is one of D&D's strongest long-game villains, an ancient aquatic mastermind with perfect memories of dead empires and plans that can unfold over centuries. The new Aboleth is tougher, stronger, and more streamlined at the table. Its HP rises from 135 to 150, it gains legendary resistance, and Eldritch Restoration lets it reform after destruction, making it feel more like an immortal far realm horror rather than just a big scary fish. Its mucus cloud also changes. The old version inflicted a disease that made victims breathe only underwater, while the new curse lets them breathe air and water, but prevents healing unless submerged, and punishes the time spent out of water in 10-minute increments. Instead of 3 tentacles plus a tail, don't look that video up on YouTube, it now makes 2 longer reach tentacles that grapple and then uses Consume Memories or Dominate Mind. Dominate Mind is the replacement for Enslaved, with a higher DC and more clean language. In battle, the Aboleth Aboleth grapples, charms, drains, and then rewrites the victim's mind. Once it has a victim charmed through Dominate Mind, the Aboleth can turn that creature into a telepathically linked servant, forcing them to fight as an ally, betray the party, protect the Aboleth's lair, or become a sleeper agent in the surface world until damage, distance, or time gives them another chance to break free. I've been a little underwhelmed with Aboleth minis in the past, mostly because I feel like they should be huge instead of large, but I'm pretty pleased with this one. The Hedgerow is a brute force demon that works best when the fight is close, ugly, and hard to escape, though its design makes it seem more like a rambunctious frog puppy to me. In a campaign, it works well as the muscle-serving Nalfeshni, a Merilith, or immortal spellcaster who has made a very dangerous bargain. It can also be the problem demon puppy, rampaging through a town or a temple or a summoning circle after its controller loses control. In battle, the Hedgerow wants to get into the middle of the party where its stench can poison nearby enemies, and its 3 rend attacks can tear down anyone who fails to keep their distance. Leap lets it close gaps or crash into backline casters, while magic resistance helps it survive control spells. Guys, why is that giant spider blue and glowing? The Phase Spider is perfect for making a familiar monster feel weird, unfair, and spooky without needing a complicated stat block. In a campaign, it works well in Haunted Ruins, Feywild bordering forest, Wizards towns, or any place where the ethereal plane is thin. It can also serve as a predator that stalks ghosts and travelers or anyone else messing with planar magic. In battle, the Phase Spider should never just stand there trading hits. It appears, bites twice, poisons or potentially paralyzes a victim, and then uses Ethereal Jaunt to vanish before the party can fully retaliate. Spider Climb and Web Walker let it attack from ceilings, web tunnels, and impossible angles, while Ethereal Sight helps it track prey across planes. Its best use is as an ambush monster. Hit, disappear, reposition, and make the players feel like there's no hope of hitting back. The Violet Fungus Necrohulk isn't just a bigger violet fungus, it's what happens when the whole fungus colony infects and animates a heap of rotting decay. That makes it a strong centerpiece for Underdark Caverns, Plague Forests, corpse-filled battlefields, or any adventure where rot is a big theme. Its stat block is built around pressure and attrition. It makes 2 Rotting Slam attacks, and its Spore Bomb recharges, creating a poisonous burst that also prevents poison targets from regaining hit points. It can also pull a nearby creature into its mass, restraining it, moving with it, and potentially destroying the body if the target dies while grappled. As a whole, this is a really useful monster manual set because it feels less like a collection of boss monsters and more like a DM's toolbox. You get low-level dungeon staples like animated armor, rust monsters, carrion crawlers, sturges, onkegs, kobolds, goblins, bugbears, and scarecrows. You get the environmental creatures like mephits and magmin and shriekers and shambling mounds and air elementals, and then you get some serious campaign-level threats like the Lich, the Aboleth, the Vampire Nightbringer, and the Iron Golem. So the set is especially good for DMs who want broad coverage across a lot of adventure types rather than one very narrow theme. It supports haunted houses, underdark crawls, swamp horror, coastal raids, infernal or abyssal incursions, wizards towers, ancient ruins, wilderness, and maybe even just classic dungeon crawls, which is where a lot of people still just play D&D on most days. It also feels like a strong set for people running published adventures because so many of these creatures show up constantly, or can slot in with very little effort. Curse of Strahd uses the Banshee, the Scarecrow. You can use the Vampire Nightbringer, obviously, the Shambling Mound, the animated armor. You can even bring in the Lich and the Iron Golem. Tales from the Yawning Portal and Sunless Citadel vibe well with a lot of the creatures in here, including the Gnome Priest of Pelor. Out of the Abyss uses a lot of the Underdark creatures, including the Kuo-toa and the Fungus and the Gibbering Mouther and the Demons and Underdark aberrations. Ghost of Saltmarsh would benefit from the Sahuagin, the Aboleth, the Kuo-toa. And for homebrew DMs, you have a set that can bring you both just your every day of the week monsters plus your campaign villains. So it's a pretty diverse set overall. Monster Manual Collection 2 is available now. A booster box of 4 minis is going for about $19. A brick of 10 boosters is about $170, and a case of 32 boosters, which should net you at least one of every mini, is $650. There are also singles on the market, so if there's a couple that you're interested in, you can pick them up that way as well. But let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And now the winner of our giveaway. Drum roll, please. The winner of a free booster box is George 7 Red, and Yes, the Kobold does look really feisty. To claim your box, just send me an email with your name and address to theo@gallantgoblin.com. Keep an eye on my brick unboxing videos for your chance to win too. I do have some more full set reviews to knock out here, so there is still time to go back and enter on those unboxing videos if you like. Remember to check out the Witchy Summer Sale at Hit Point Press for lots of great animated cards, from spells to NPCs to conditions, and the deck of many things. And the Arc Villain Encounters Game Found campaign ends in a couple of days too. If you like the Epic Encounter series but wish it was more grimdark, then you're going to want to check this out. I have several videos on the channel about it, and the campaign is all linked down below too. And that's it for today. Thank you for watching all the way to the end here. If you did, drop me a comment down below talking about, I don't know, Lego. Let's confuse everybody else who didn't watch all the way to the end here, and let's geek out over some Lego if you enjoy it. But for now, please stay safe, have fun, love each other, and I'll see you next time at the Gallant Goblin.